and AI has failed me. So this bottom part is supposed to be what we see on the top, okay? But do not care about the people that notice. Hi everyone, my name is Marielle. I lost my left eye to retinoblastoma when I was 2 years old, and I am now 26 years old. I make educational videos like this for people who have lost an eye and for anyone really who's curious about what it's like to live with this disability. And for today's video, I just want to give a disclaimer that the information that you're about to hear is based on my personal experience. Sorry, I touched the mic. Based on my personal experience and personal interviews I've had with people who are prosthetic eye users. I am not a medical professional and I am not a professional researcher. Today's video is about tips for climbing down public staircases, escalators, and hiking down a mountain for people who just lost an eye. But before anything, let's talk about why is it such a struggle to go down these things for people who just lost an eye. One of the functions of the eye is called depth perception. So depth perception is the ability of a person to see objects in 3 dimensions and to see how far something is. I keep hitting the mic. I'm so sorry. So, but if a person lost their eye, they can still see things in 3 dimensions, like when it comes to movies or when it comes to YouTube videos. But the struggle becomes more apparent when it comes to gauging how far something is. And we can see that, or you'll see that in the way that we play certain sports like badminton or when we climb down public staircases. Okay, so let me describe to you what people who just lost an eye see when we are walking down an escalator, for example. So in this image, this is what people with 2 eyes sees, right? You can see where the step starts and ends. You can see it in 3 dimensions and you know how far each step is, right? But when someone who just lost an eye is going down the same escalator, it looks very different. From afar, let's say we're walking towards the escalator from the opposite side, we can see the steps. We can, from afar. So in our brain, it registers that, this is a staircase. This is like a staircase. It's a moving staircase. But the moment we step on top of the escalator going down, it looks something like this. You see how merged it is here at the bottom? It looks like it's 2D and not 3D. But we know it's 3D. We know it's a staircase. But how come what the information that we receive in our eyesight, it looks merged? It's like we don't know where a step ends and begins. And it's a lot of pressure also, especially if you're a child, because it's moving. That's number 1. And number 2, you don't want to be a burden to other people. You don't want to hold the line of people that are walking on the escalator, but you can't help it, especially for someone who just lost an eye. You can't help it. That's what you see. And yet at the same time, your brain is telling you, no, that's a staircase. It's going to break apart and all. And it can be scary for someone who just lost an eye, because for me, I'm used to it now. So I get on the escalator normally like other people. Sometimes I hesitate when it's a bit too fast, but more or less I'm used to it now. But for people who just lost an eye, it's a lot of I would say information overload to describe it, because you know it's a staircase, but your eye is telling you, wait a minute, it's merged or something like that. Disclaimer, this image I generated out of AI, and AI has failed me. So this bottom part is supposed to be what we see on the top, okay? And the moment the escalator goes down or further down here at the bottom, that's where we see the steps, what we see up front. So in summary, imagine it like this. At the top, when it's dispensed, it looks like here. It looks like merge. But the moment it's far away, we can see there's some steps. So it's weird. It's weird. It's also a little bit of pressure because we don't want to hold the line. We don't want to hold the escalator, but we can't help it. This is what we see. So before we talk about the tips, I want to give a special shout out to Likhani. Please follow her TikTok account and also the Facebook members of a group called Living with a Prosthetic Eye and Prosthetic Eye Users for helping me make this video. I asked for their help because I lost my eye when I was really young. So I don't remember what it's like to see things with two eyes. So my observation as someone who just lost an eye when they were younger was validated by other people who had a prosthetic eye when they were much older. Facebook groups pointed out that not everyone who lost an eye actually struggles climbing down staircases and escalators. So for two-eyed people, or people with two eyes rather, that are watching this, please keep that in mind, that not everyone who lost an eye actually struggles climbing down staircases or escalators. The question now is, how can you tell if your family or friend who has only one eye is struggling to go down the escalator or staircase? Basically, number one, if they hesitate to take the first step on top of an escalator going downwards. And number two is that if they're very slow than normal when they climb down a public staircase. The reason why I say public staircase is because the staircase at home is much easier to climb down, especially for adults who just lost their eye, because they already have developed the muscle memory to climb down the staircases at home. The real test is how they climb down staircases or escalators in public. That's when you can tell. And then for family and members that are observing them and they notice that they manifest the signs that I have earlier cited, then please, number one, help them. Number two, please validate also their fear that it's not all in their head. It's scientific because of depth perception. And also, there is a small group of people like them that do struggle. So they're not alone. And number three, please show them this video, or you can tell them the tips that I'm about to tell you, so that they can be empowered as well. I'm going to organize these tips into 5 categories. So the first is for parents that want to teach their children to get on the escalator. Second would be the adult version of number 1. And third would be climbing down the fire exit staircase. Fourth would be carrying bulky items while going down the staircase. And number 5 would be hiking downwards. For parents teaching their children, there are 6 steps that you need to note of. First step number 1, you need to check the speed of the escalator from afar. So it's important that you do it from afar so that you don't have to be in anyone's way or block anyone's way if they need to use the escalator. So you can be located somewhere here at the side for as long as you can see the steps, or you can be located rather here at the back of the escalator. The key is you should be able to see the steps being dispensed out from the top of the escalator.
Hi everyone, this is Editing Mariel here. I forgot to include step number 2. So step number 2 is basically to practice with your child following the counting and teaching them to step on number 2.
For example, so imagine me being the parent and my friend is the child. The parent is the one with the pure white shoe. So when we count, we go on number 2. So 1 and then 2. So back again. So you practice again with your child. So 1, and then on 2, you get on the number 3 is you and your child will keep practicing, but do not care about the people that notice, okay? The reason why I suggest that you practice in public rather than in the home is because the moment your child will step on top of the escalator, they will easily forget the training that they had at home. It's because, again, remember, the information that's being registered in our brain is what we are seeing and at the same time what we know. So there's that conflict again. That's why I know it's not ideal, but I really, really recommend that you practice in public and to the side so that you don't block the way. And for people that have 2 eyes that are watching this, if you notice a parent and a child is practicing the stepping and you're hearing the mom counting or the dad counting, immediately think that, one of them is disabled. And then look away. It's very rude to stare. And I get it. A lot of us, no matter the country, we love gossip. I get it and everything. But please, to be sensitive to people like us who are disabled, please, please, please do not stare, okay? You can look out of curiosity, but then look the other way. If you are a parent and then your child points out or questions out loud, Mom, Dad, what are they doing? Why are they counting? Like this and like that. It's best that you explain it to them when you are not around the disabled person, okay? Do not approach the parent and ask them to explain to your child what are they doing, okay? Because remember, the parent needs to keep in mind the pacing of the escalator in order to teach the child, okay? They can't lose the pacing. If they lose the pacing and then they practice with their child and their child doesn't get on the escalator on time, are you gonna answer for that? No, please. So please do not interrupt their practice just to explain to their child. What you can do instead is you tell the child, name, I'm going to explain it to you later. Please do not stare at them because it's rude. And then you explain to them, it is possible that one of them has a disability, one of them could have lost their eyesight, so what they see going down the escalator is different from what we see with 2 eyes. That's it. That's the explanation. If they want more explanation, show them this video if they can understand it. For the parent, okay, for the parent of the disabled child, you cannot stop the child from noticing if other people stare. Even if they don't heed my warning and they stare, you can't stop them. But to make the experience less traumatic for your child, you as the parent should not care. And if the child sees you not caring what other people think, it's not as traumatic. It will not come up into their memory later on in life that they were different from other people. Instead, what will come up was that was a fun memory or something like that and everything. I'll give you one example from my personal life. When I was 2 years old and I just got out of the surgery, my left eye was still too soft to hold the prosthetic eye. So I had to walk around with a bandage. And I went out to the mall with my family and all, and people stared at me. But what's interesting, now that I'm 26 years old, I never recalled that memory with a lot of pain in my heart. And I think it's because my mom wore an eye patch. So when people stared at me, when I looked at my mom, I realized that, no, I'm good. I'm not different. My mom is also the same way. I'm good. So that's the key. That's the key in doing this practice publicly, is you should not care. And when your child sees you not caring what other people are thinking, they won't remember that memory with pain. Step number 4 is to make sure that you're holding the hand of your child tightly before you go on the escalator, and make sure to tell them, do not be afraid. The reason why you need to hold their hand tightly is because when they get on the escalator, they'll start to feel the fear and so the counting will still be there because you just practiced it, but the fear could overtake the counting sometimes. Okay, I'll give you one example. So it happened to me around 5 years old, and I was holding my mom's hand down the escalator, and I didn't know how to describe to her, like, Ma, I see something different in going down the escalator and I'm scared. I couldn't articulate that at 5 years old and all. And what happened was I let go of her hand, and I was left on top of the escalator while she was going down. So, Ma, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. Thank you for everything. Back to topic. So that's an example. You need to hold their hand tightly. But that could also send a signal to them that maybe you're afraid or something like that. And in order to break that thinking or even prevent it from ever starting in your child, because though they may not articulate it, they sense things, they know. You just tell them, don't be afraid and do not let go of my hand. Step number 5 is to apply the counting and make sure that when they land on the step, you praise them. 1, 2, and 1, 2. Step number 6 for parents with disabled children is to practice a minimum of 5 times, okay? I don't care if it's the only escalator in that place, you are riding that thing 5 times, okay? Do not also care if people start to notice, like, oh my gosh, that family went up and down the escalator like 5 times. What is happening? Don't care about them. Okay? You don't even have to answer them if they do ask. Okay? If they do ask or if they start interrupting, just say, we're disabled. Please, let us be. Or something. I don't know. Don't care about them, okay? And then third is do not care if sometime in the future your child would be all like, Ma or Dad, how come every time you go out to the mall or somewhere and there's an escalator, we have to ride that thing 5 times? Look, the most practical reason why we have to do that is to build your self-confidence and to help your eyesight to adjust. Because when you build your self-confidence, even in the smallest things like going down the escalator, that's already a big help for, unfortunately, in this world, bigger challenges that people like us will face. One good example is going through puberty, where you care a lot about the way you look, but then physically we're different from other people. That's a big challenge. So in order to prepare us for such challenges that we will face later on, like bullying even, we have to overcome these small things and to put in the mind of the child also that, hey, I am not as different as other people. Next set of tips are for the adults that just lost the eye and are struggling to go down the escalator. So basically, step number 1 is to also do the counting from afar. You don't have to do the physical practice of stepping and like that. You just need to know the counts so that you get to know the pacing. Second is make sure that you have rubbing alcohol with you, because what will help you is to hold on the railing. But as you've probably seen in other videos, either here on TikTok or in YouTube videos, a lot of the railings around the world are not that clean. So it's best to have a rubbing alcohol with you. The third step would be to practice. You need to keep practicing. Again, I strongly recommend 5 times, and please do not care about what other people would think. You just lost an eye, okay? That in itself is a justified reason for you to practice going up and down the escalator. If that makes you a bit insecure, try to find another escalator. But at the end of the day, if that's the only escalator in that place, you have to ride that minimum of 5 times in order to get used to it, to practice. So my next set of tips is for those of you that are climbing down fire exit staircases. So that's going to really help, especially if there's going to be a fire drill or an earthquake drill or whatever drill you have in that country. So number 1 is, again, please make sure you have rubbing alcohol, because we don't know how clean these railings are. And it's always important that people who lost an eye always have clean hands, because sometimes we have mucus discharge, or if something gets in our eye, we really need to take care of it by making sure that our hands are always clean. The second step is that when you hold the railing and then you're going down the stairs, it's okay to take your time, all right? It's best that you practice going down the fire exit. I think legally it should be open at all times. So when you're in the workplace or you're in a hospital or something like that, instead of taking the elevator, yes, take the stairs, okay? It's gonna be tiring, yes, but when the moment that a fire drill or earthquake drill happens, you already develop the muscle memory to go down the fire exit staircases. For people with 2 eyes watching this, I can give you 2 tips that could really help if you notice a coworker or a friend that is going down the staircase during a fire drill and an earthquake drill, and they're quite slow, and you notice that their eyes are really focused on the steps. Number 1 is, if you want to offer help, please ask first. Don't immediately hold their hand and say, "Here, I'm gonna help you," like that, because the person could actually just be training themselves to be able to independently go down the steps by themselves. And that's also a form of self-empowerment for people who are disabled. It's also not bad if the disabled person says, "Yeah, can you please help me? I just lost an eye. My operation was just like 1 week ago or a month ago, and I really need help going down for now," and all. So that's the time you can help and all. But the second tip I have is for anyone really, whether you're offering help or not, is please do not judge, do not stare. You can look and then look away and then just go right ahead, even in front of us and all. Just don't complain and don't gossip. Because that it adds unnecessary pressure to the pressure that we are in, because we have to be very careful going down the steps because we only have 1 eye left. And if we fall and we hit our head or our eye, we risk losing both our vision. Imagine being in that kind of pressure and then people gossiping around you about, oh, you being different. And then even if you gossip about something that isn't wrong, the mere fact that you gossip and you didn't even ask me or we're not even friends and all, it's a stab really at our self-esteem or our self-confidence as a person. And I think that's the biggest help actually you could ever give us. The fourth category of advice that I'd like to give is for those of us that need to carry bulky items down the staircase. So last week, in my condominium, the elevator broke and all of us had to take the stairs. And yes, I could have asked other people for help, but I wanted to see for myself if I can do it alone. And I think it's also very helpful for people who are disabled and they are alone and all. So the technique for that is you go down sideways. So normally when you go down the steps, you're facing like this. When you are going down the steps carrying something bulky, since that covers your vision, if you carry it here and you're facing like that, what you do is that you face like this to the side. So wherever your vision is, that's where you can see the steps. And wherever my blind side is, it's the opposite way, where I don't need to see the steps. And that's where most of the bulk of the, let's say, a box is located at, your blind side. And your vision can clearly see the steps. It's just that you're sideways. And because you are sideways, in order to not lose your balance, take your time going down the steps. In fact, in this next clip, I'm going to show you that it is possible. In fact, I was wearing very bulky Crocs. I don't know why it was like 8 a.m. in the morning. I wasn't thinking straight. We're on the last set of tips, which is hiking down a mountain. I have hiked down a few mountains in my life, either because of camping or a field trip, but the very first time I hiked down a mountain was when I was in grade 3. And it was challenging because it had rocky parts and all. So I know that it's possible for children to hike down mountains and all, but I need you to have the mindset that this is not like any other child. This child lost an eye. So when you lose an eye, you don't have depth perception. You don't know how far that rock is from your next step and all. First advice I have is to climb down slowly. And number 2 is please stay at the back of the line, because you don't want to block anyone's way. Some people might be experienced hikers and they just want to go as fast as possible and all, because that's their form of enjoyment and everything. And the reason why I say that you have to stay at the back of the line, even as, let's say, you're a student and all, is because when people overtake you and you're hiking down a mountain, it's not the same feeling as people overtaking you and it's a fire drill. When people overtake you and it's a fire drill, that's understandable because it's an emergency and everything. I would say it's a little bit different when you're hiking down a mountain and it's not an emergency. And people do that for fun. And you don't want to ruin anyone's fun just because you're disabled and everything. It would be very nice if everyone knew that you were disabled and everyone was cheering for you. Everyone was, very supportive and all. But not everyone is mature enough to have that kind of understanding. A great example of this is kids. You don't have time to explain your disability to every single person, or maybe you're not in a safe environment to tell people that you're disabled and you have to hide behind your prosthetic eye and everything. If that was the case, then stay at the back of the line. And when you do that, when I advise that, I'm not coming from a place of judgment. I'm not coming from I personally know what that's like. I know what that's like, not being in a safe environment to tell people that you're disabled. And if you have the opportunity to have a prosthetic eye, you hide behind it. And that's another video for another day. But let's recap. So number 1, slow down. Number 2 is to stay at the back of the line if you're in a group. And number 3 advice is get a stick and all, a long stick. So since we struggle to tell how far a rock is, we're under the pressure that we don't want to fall, because if we fall and land on our face, that's kind of like the end for us, sort of, in our eyesight. You use a stick to like poke at the ground in front of you, especially if it's rocks You poke at them to see which rock is like stable to put your feet on, and which ones are not. So for parents that allow their child to hike down the mountain, you can ask if one of the teachers or one of the hike leaders can help and hold your child's hand, or if you want them to, have that experience, that empowering experience to hike down the mountain by themselves. Make sure that they bring a glove or some kind of band around the stick so that they won't get a splinter while holding the stick. Some of you might be thinking, why would a parent allow a child to hike down a mountain and all? I want people to know that just because I'm disabled or that child is disabled doesn't mean that we should not participate in activities that may be challenging to our eyesight, but could also be so much more than that. It could be a memory and a childhood memory for that child. It could also be a moment of, empowerment as well, to show the child that, yes, I have my limitations, but I'm working around that limitations so that I get also the same experience that my classmates and my friends had. That's why we try to push boundaries as people who are disabled. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please be sure to follow me on all of my social media platforms. Did I say that correctly? Yeah, I said that correctly. And see you next time.